In the drive, as a fourth grade teacher, I already have a folder created for the Hope Chest, the book that my students are reading. And I like to be organized and have it all in one place. So if I open my folder right now and create a form in it, it will be already there. To create a form to start, I go to New, and I need to go to More to see that there is the Google Forms to start right here. I'm going to click. The form opens, and the first thing I'm going to do is to title it. The title is the title of the book. In that case, you can always be more specific if you want to. It's the Hope Chest. And as soon as I click the Hope Chest, the title appeared right here. Now it's time for the first question. No matter what assessment you are creating or survey or whatever data collection you are working on, the first question should be the name unless you want it to be anonymous. In our case, it's the assessment for the fourth grade, so it's definitely should be the name. And short answer is the best choice for the name. I'm going to make it required.
So when I do a form, it won't automatically collect people's names?
No, it can be anonymous if you want just a check for understanding and you're really not looking at the names. We need the next question. To start the new question, we're going to look at this little panel on the right and click on plus sign. Space for new question appears. The next question is going to be about Chloe, one of the main characters of the book. We have choices.
So those are different types of questions we can ask?
Correct. And we can decide what would we like it to be. Do we want it to be a multiple choice or check boxes? Check boxes actually means multiple answer. So what if we'll choose that? And now let's give the options for those answers. I click on add an option, and here is a space for me to add another one. So I have 3 different options for my students. 2 are correct and 1 is not. You can add other if you want their different answer, but in that type of a question, it's not going to work. So I don't need it right here. I'll click on cross and get rid of it. I want all my questions, all my students answer all my questions, so I want it to be required as well.
So I have to click that required button with every type of question I put in there.
Now, forms give us a possibility to have interesting and fun questions as well. So let me start the new one. And what about adding an image or picture to the next one?
So we're going to add a question here.
And the question we'll add will be about suffragist movement. And that will allow me, if I hover over to the right of this question, allow me to add an image. And so we'll click on an image, and now we can search. Oh, and look, all these pictures appeared. I actually like the first one. So I'm going to click. It's selected. You see the blue frame around it. And I click on select.
So that looks a little big. Can we resize it?
We can. If I click, and you see how the picture is selected here, I can go to one of the boxes in the corner and make it smaller, like this. And also, you see I have this choices right here for more. Let's see what is there. I can center my picture, and I'm going to do that. That looks good, right?
Yep.
And now I can add my answers. What will we make it to be? We can have check boxes, multiple choice. We're going to take multiple choice. The same way, I'll add my answers in the options. And we're all done. All the questions are required.
Are there other things we can insert?
This little table on the right gives us more choices. You see, you can add an image from here, but that will create it in a separate question. But this is a video.
Let's put in a video that we can then ask a question about.
Cool. So I'm going to click here, and I can search Hope Chest and hope I'll find something appropriate for my students. Oh, look at this one. This is the students talking about the book. It's only 1 minute. You can preview it right here. We actually did preview it before, and we thought it will be a good one to add. So I'm going to select and click on select.
So now, just like the image, it inserted the video right in there.
Like with an image, we can center it. And now instead of putting a title here, we can actually write our question here or our assignment or directions.
Yeah, so I think directions to the kids will be a good thing here.
So we know the students have to watch the video and there'll be a question that we created.
So now what we would want to do is they're going to watch the video and we want to have a question below it. How do I get to that question?
Add a question by clicking on plus here. It gives us that space.
So now you can type in the question that goes with the video.
Interesting. Automatically, it gave me paragraph.
So that's because they're going to be typing in a lot of information there. We want to have a paragraph.
Click required.
Now, something useful when you're creating a form is to preview it and see what the form will look like when you hand it out to people. How do I do that?
Right on top here, we have the menu, and preview is
Little
right
eyeball
here,
up
little
there.
eyeball. So let's click on the little eyeball.
And this is what your form will look like when people are taking the form and actually answering the questions.
And they'll have to submit when they're done.
Now, I noticed it opened in a new tab along the top. That will always happen when you preview a form. The editing version that we were in is still open in a tab, but a new tab opened with the preview. So if we were to click back to the edit tab, it's going to look a little bit different.
We can also go here and go back into edit version. But let's go to the previous tab.
So this is where you create the form and make all the changes. The preview is just to show you what it will look like when people take it.
Now, if you look at this color palette and click, you can see that there are choices for color and other choices as well. If I click here, I can select a theme. What do we have here? Here's one book, but maybe something even more interesting, appealing to fourth grade students. How about this one?
Yeah, that looks good. Books.
I'm going to choose this and select.
So they have a lot of these banner images that you can just go in and choose from to be on the top of your form. So here we're in that editing version. I noticed it said questions on the top and then it says responses over to the side. If we go over to the response section, when you click on this, you'll be able to see we don't have any responses yet, but responses that people have submitted to you. One thing that's very important to do here is to create a new spreadsheet. When people complete your form, all the responses are going to go into a spreadsheet that we can view. So you want to click on that little green icon there, and we want to create a new spreadsheet for the Hope Chest. It'll be titled the same as your form. It'll just say responses afterwards. So you want to click on that create button so that that spreadsheet is created to gather your responses. And this is what it'll look like.
Here is our third choice here on top, settings. What does it give us? By default, we have restrict to Rochester City School District users. The next one, what do you think? Limit to one response. Do you want your students to provide more than one response?
So if I'm giving an assessment to my class and want to see how they're doing, I probably just want them to be able to submit that one time. So I would check that box. So then each student only gets one response.
And depending on what you really want your students to do, you can decide whether you will allow them to edit after submit or not, whether you allow them to see summary charts or not. We're clicking on save. What other choices do we have here? There is more, and that will allow us to delete it, to make a copy, or add collaborators.
So if I'm building this form with, say, my co-teacher, I can add them on as a collaborator?
And that'd probably be great. So you can, both of you, work on creating a form. Now, how do we give it to our students? Here is send option. What does it give us? Here is the link option.
But that link's pretty long. If I was going to have them tighten it, we can shorten it. But for younger students, that's still probably going to be difficult for them to type into the address bar to get to the form.
I think my favorite choice will be to use Google Classroom to give this form to my students.